Hey everyone, Nick Engvall here. Before we get into today's episode, I want to tell you about some of the people that make the sneaker history community and this podcast possible. It's more important than ever to think about who you give your money to when you're buying clothing to go with your kicks. Our friends at Guilty Goods started their brand with a goal of giving back, especially to the communities that make sneaker culture possible. With every purchase from Guilty Goods, at least 10% of the proceeds are donated to organizations like Big Brothers and Big Sisters, the Susan G. Komen Foundation, the Movement for Black Lives, and many more. You can save 30% on your order by using the code HISTORY at guiltygoods.us. Again, that's history at guiltygoods.us for 30% off, and you can feel good about your purchase knowing you're supporting a meaningful cause. Sneakers are all about presentation, and if you're like me, displaying your kicks at home or in the office is just as important as when they're on your feet. Sneaker Throne makes sneaker display cases featuring customizable LED lights, drop-side cases to showcase the entire side of the shoe, not just the heel or the toe, the whole shoe. They've also got display cases for trading card collectors and hat collectors. To me, it's the perfect way to display your collection. You can save at least 10% on your Sneaker Throne order by using the code HISTORY at sneakerthrone.com. That's history at sneakerthrone.com. If you're a Patreon supporter or a member of our Discord community, you already know about Kicks with V hot sauce and his small batch, locally sourced hot sauce. V has been one of the biggest supporters of sneaker history and the podcast since the early days. He's currently the defending champion in our community trivia nights competition. Kicks with V hot sauce has been a huge hit with the community. You can save 10% on your order by using the code SneakerHistory10 at kickswithvhots.com. That's SneakerHistory10 at kickswithvhots.com. Now, you're probably here because you like sneakers, and if you join the Discord, you know our community is about so much more than that. Whether it's the marathon-like community calls, trivia night debates, the in-person meetups, or just sharing our favorite experiences, we found that although we have such different backgrounds, we all have some unexpected shared passions. Not only does the entire community look out for each other when it comes to releases, we're like a support group for life in general. You can join the Discord community for free by heading to the show notes of this episode. After you're done listening to this episode, tell someone you like their kicks today. You never know how far a simple compliment can take you, and we all know how good it feels to have someone show their appreciation. Now let's get into today's episode.
Jordan trying to shake off Starks. Oh, what a move!
James with no regard for human life.
12 seconds. Bryant for the win. Iverson against Gill. The crowd on its feet. Allen for the win.
Welcome to the Sneaker History Podcast.
What up, what up? Welcome to the Sneaker History Podcast. It's been a rock and roll kind of a night. We've been struggling to get this shit working, but the three of us, myself, Nick Engvall, Mike Guillory, Robbie Falchi, are here to talk some kicks. We're talking some new releases tonight and or today, whenever you're listening to this, watching it. But what's good, fellas? How you guys doing?
Fan-freaking-tastic.
I'm good. Good.
Oh, good.
What are you guys rocking and copping lately?
Okay, Robbie, you go first, player.
Right? It's just like,
He's going to take an hour or so. We're just Robbie.
all the shoes out. I realize I'm wearing my PJs. I didn't realize showing so much skin.
Hey, PJ Poppy?
The top two are blinding. So we have a nice Adidas Superstar. Gorgeous, timeless. And I feel like it's counterpart, right? In terms of like brand rivalry. I like to be more like this. Brand rivalry. You know? Or maybe it's like the Air Force One versus the Superstar. I don't know, but I was feeling gracious, so we went both ways. And then Coppin, I think I'm just trying to get Mike those Gundams. Like, I really don't even care.
Well, that's nice.
Not do anything too much personally this week. The Bordeaux Jordan 1s in like 2 or 3 weeks. Talk to me then. But I think I'm just trying to get Mike some Gundams and see how that goes.
My man. No, that's awesome because I know my luck with sneakers and not super fantastic. So I appreciate all assistance with that. I just need one pair. I'm not trying to be greedy, but whatever. I mean, of course, Gundam is on my Coppin list, but there's also another one I've been looking at is the Air Max 95 Air Max Run Club. Those things are sick. They like replaced the traditional Air Max 95 ton with like a one of the runners from like the 70s, and then it has like the kind of I guess this was that chenille type levels like carpet on the side with the Air Max Run Club tag on it. They're pretty sick, like multicolored. So those are pretty cool. I don't know when they're coming out, but that's on my copping and on the rocking list. I mean, I guess I had to do it for you for the podcast to look like a goober, but
You're not a goober, man. That's awesome.
I just got these in the Salehi Benbury 574 yurts, and this is such an underrated shoe. People who didn't like it, I think you should just reevaluate it because this is such a good shoe, especially for that fall winter time. It's super bulky but super nice materials, and I think I'm really happy I actually decided against not buying it. So got it for retail, which even makes it better. So that's what I got going on. What about you, Nick?
That's a good one. Let's see. I've been basically wearing the Saucony Cortana 3, just trying to run, trying to keep up with you, at least go every other day or so.
Try
at least. But as far as copping, I don't really know. Like I'm kind of like in the same boat. Like I entered a few of the Gundam raffles for you, but I haven't had any luck yet. So, I mean, kind of is what it is. I've just been, I guess, disheartened for releases lately because there's just not a lot of stuff that is easily accessible.
You just copped some Air Max 90s for me, so you did have a cop.
Well, yeah, I guess I did. I did get Air Max 90s from Robbie and some Adidas Boston 9s to run in. So
I have to also know I did 2 miles today too.
Hey,
so
nice.
I meant to take photos and such, but not my forte. I wore my On running shoes. Shout out to On as I ran today. But I busted my ankle out like 4th of July, and I still haven't been able to run right. So taking it very slow, thought it'd be a good time to get back into it. So we're all running. If you join the Discord, we're all getting our shoes on. We're all running. Come join the pack. The wolf pack.
Yep.
I hate that. And I don't hate it. Shout out to Foamy and Buckets. Wolfpack is great, but it's already taken. So that's why it's not good for us. So
exactly.
The Dirty Dogs. Could we be the last of Dirty Dogs? The Dirty Dogs Sneaker History Run Club.
That one's not used yet. Shout out to Ted Lasso.
Okay, time out. Nick here. Before we get into the rest of today's episode, I wanted to ask you a favor. We're looking for sponsors for the podcast, and I thought, who better to ask than the listeners that support us already? If you're like me, you probably listen to a lot of podcasts, and you know exactly who the sponsors are that you like, and definitely those that you don't. If that sounds like you, send us an email to podcast@sneakerhistory.com with some of the brands that you would like to hear sponsor the Sneaker History podcast. It would really help us out, and it'll save you from hearing about skinny teas or industrial cleaning supplies or other weird stuff like that doesn't make any sense. All right. Enough of the business. Let's get back to the show.
Oh man, we gotta do an episode at least for Patreon for Ted Lasso. I don't know if you guys are caught up on it all, but
I finished it, and
I finished the second season, and I'll LeBron it for you. Nate's the worst fucking person ever. Throw that dude brats.
Throw punch that guy. Like no spoilers, but I'll fight him on site.
The funny thing is, you knew it was coming, right? Like
I didn't know until like halfway through the season. I was like, this son of a gun here, like.
When he had the meltdown in the game, I thought he was just acting out for like attention. He wasn't like really being malicious. Then when he had the whole fucking Darth Vader suit on type thing, I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
You're that guy.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh man. Yeah. That is a great show and a great podcast topic though. So we'll have to get into that soon. I'm sure Rohit's probably watched that too, right?
Oh, we have to with them. Like we can't do that episode without Rohit.
He lives for it.
Yeah. So this episode, we're gonna get into some just some sneaker releases. This all kind of feeds into the Discord. If you're in the Discord under Sneaker Release Info, the Sneaker Release Info channel, all these releases will be in there as you're looking at this. But basically, as soon as they're published. So first up is the Travis Scott Nike Air Max 1 in the Cave Stone colorway, and I'll just say we should probably not get into the chaos of Astro World because I feel like we could go down a whole ass rabbit hole with that. So let's just talk about the shoe itself and see what you guys think about it.
Yeah, no, that's a whole episode within itself as well. I think I'm underwhelmed by this. If we're talking purely about the shoes, I'm underwhelmed by this particular colorway. I'm not a huge fan of the makeup of the Air Max 1, what he's done with it. But I have to say the first two that they're planning on releasing looks better than this one. That's all I have to say, but it's nothing special to me, in my opinion.
I think the colorway is really cool. I mean, definitely like Raiders vibe to it. The only thing I really don't like about it is like the colored in kind of like I guess this particular pair doesn't have the colored over air bubble, but some of the other pairs have like the spray painted over air bubble. And I know LeBron's done that a couple times on his models in the past. Mm-hmm. I just don't like that look. This, because it is not spray painted, I like more. But just, I think the reverse swoosh is awkward. It reminds me a lot of the Odell Beckham stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Remember the Odell stuff that definitely flopped super hard? This will not flop because it has Travis's name to it. But it has a lot of similar vibes. It also has Adapt vibes to it. Remember that first Adapt colorway?
I'll have a look at
silver with like the black and a little bit of blue, just like this. So it's channeling a couple different looks. It's not the look for me. I think it's important to remember that there's a whole generation of kids who have different tastes than us, right? So like, may not be the shoe for us, but there's definitely going to be like a 15-year-old who hits on sneakers and then like crap his pants. He's so excited. So power to him when that happens. Yeah. When that boo-boo is made, it'll be cool. It's not for me.
I agree with you, Robbie. The air bubble being painted is the one thing I don't like about any of them at all. Like, I just never liked that. I take that back. The only time I ever liked it was the Toronto or Canada Air Max one that had that white and black with the Canadian flag on the tongue. That actually looked pretty good. Although I still think it would look better with just a regular clear air bubble. I think, for me, that's always an important piece. But this colorway is like, it's kind of whatever to me. I think the other two colorways, they're not colors that I would ever wear or care about, but I think the colorways and the details are really interesting. I guess in the lineage of Travis Scott shoes, I think things are at least getting more interesting than cool. I did a Houston colorway. Cool. I did a, purple colorway of the 4. Cool. I did a backwards swoosh on the Jordans, and cool. I like brown. Because that seems to be like how he's, stepped through the stages of design. And this at least seems like there's been a lot more effort put into it. There's a lot of different little details and, things that aren't on the regular Air Max 1. I like the tongue has the Air Max 95 kind of vibe with the multiple lace spots on it up. So, yeah, but definitely not for me. Definitely hope that if you're after this, that you get it, but I won't be your competition on that day. The next one up, we got the Supreme Nike SB Dunk High Brazil.
So, I mean, Nick, you brought up you didn't even mean to bring up a good point, but just like, not everybody needs to be competition for a sneaker. This Brazil Supreme Dunk, I'm not a buyer. And you know what? That's okay to not be a buyer. You don't have to gobble up everything just to gobble it up. Like, the Brazil is cool. Supreme stuff is cool. Dunks are cool. Not all ingredients come together to make a beautiful dish. So I will not be a buyer, but again, someone's going to be super happy to have this shoe. And like, salute to you, happy person. But like, not everybody has to be competition with one another for shoes.
Yeah. Well, I have to say that I'm typically not a big Supreme shoe fan, but I find myself actually really liking this one. I don't know, something about it. I like how the traditional Brazil colors are broken up by like the writing on it with the white and red accents. I really like them. I don't see myself going for them. I know the drill already. I don't want to even waste the time. So these are dope. Again, I'm not going to waste the time going after them. But if you get them, I think it's a solid shoe to add to the collection.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good looking shoe. I think it's not for me. I'd prefer different. There's definitely other Brazil shoes that I'd much rather have besides this one. I'm not a crazy Supreme fan anyway, but I think it's pretty dope. But it's kind of typical of what you expect from Supreme at this point, right? They just kind of throw their branding or their kind of attitude on top of something that we already know is going to do well. So, yeah.
What's kind of funny is that like I feel the same way about Supreme. I just got a Supreme sweatshirt for my birthday. And I haven't got a Supreme article of clothing in a long time. And I have no idea what the collab is, what's going on. But God damn it, that thing is like heavy and it's comfortable and it sits very nicely.
Nice.
So like Supreme, I mean, you might not get the pattern. I think a lot of us just don't get it nowadays. Maybe it's just above our heads, but like it still fits damn good sometimes. So like Supreme quality is still there. So just doesn't always make sense.
I definitely agree with that. I mean, like I got one of the shirts from like Greg hooked me up with one of the shirts he hit on that first week this season of the shit. I just drew a complete blank. The Rick Rubin photo tee. And, you know, like this one of the guys that I really look up to, and quality of that shirt is really nice. I was impressed when I pulled it out. So totally agree. The next one up on the list of releases is the official images of the Nike Kyrie 8 Fire and Ice.
Falls in line with all Kyrie things. I mean, I don't have an opinion about it here or there. I mean, if it's anything like any other Kyrie, I mean, it's going to perform well on court typically. I think that probably the Kyrie 5 was the only one I didn't like. Question is who's going to be wearing them on court? That's the biggest question with the Kyrie, but that's for a different day. But yeah, nothing to write home about. As long as it stays in his lane and does what it's supposed to do, I don't see we're going to have any problems.
I mean, what's funny is that Kevin Durant did, I believe, a KD 9 Fire and Ice shoe. And then there was an all-star Kevin Durant. So the Fire and Ice was a GS pair, one red, one blue, very stereotypical. And then there was a KD 7, I believe. KD 8. The Christmas pair also was like Fire and Ice, two-tone type deal. That's also very cool. This one, I just don't think it has enough to like tell that Fire and Ice story other than an ice cube on fire on the tongue. Like, right?
They're going to phone him in until he gets back on the court, I feel like. They're not going to release anything crazy, I think, until they get someone, I mean, until, WNBA starts up and, Sue Bird's retiring, never mind. So no one's wearing them.
Like you said WNBA. How Texan are you? You said WNBA.
Hey, man, look, you know where I'm from. You know where I live at.
That's hilarious to me. I don't know why. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think this is one of the better colorways of the shoe so far in terms of like just like generally it just like looks good, right? But there's a lot wrapped up into Kyrie's shoes at this point, and I don't know what's gonna come from it, but. Speaking of, like, Keep Sue Fresh is one of the next ones on the list of releases too. Mm-hmm. And, it's like the colorway, it looks good, but if you're not going to see it on the court, does it resonate with people? I don't know.
Yeah. It's tough. I mean, I know we're in a point now where people don't buy shoes really based on the, on-court performance, but I still think that you need to have the shoe. Like if it's a performance model, you're going to need to at least have someone playing them, because it's easy for me or not me, but maybe it's easy for a kid to justify, Kevin Durant's my favorite player. He's wearing, I can easily see what he's wearing on court, or the pictures that people take now and put on Instagram, and the highlights are just so great. You can see, oh, this shoe is dope. Like I want to get that one. If no one's wearing it, it's hard to justify it. And with Kyrie's, typically his first colorway is really sick. Like his first colorway is always something, out there, hard to get. They don't ever re-release them. So I'm really surprised that they're going to go this basic. I mean, again, it probably has a lot to do with him not being on the court. But between this one and, again, Sue Bird, I don't think she's coming back this next year. I don't understand what the marketing technique will be, because, unfortunately, I think they're going to sit around and hit that, maybe hit that blue tag or red tag special pretty quick.
Maybe he'll do a collab with Aaron Rodgers. He'll re-sign with Nike.
Oh man,
hey, what can we call
that? Be insane.
I'm a scientist collaboration. That's what we're gonna call it. Like Monday quarterback, Monday morning scientist. That's what they're going to be.
I mean, okay, call me crazy, and I know this person wouldn't do it. Maybe with a KD. So like both Kyrie's and KD's, great hoop shoes. Tons of players in the league wear them. Tons of players on every level wear both of those lines. They're very good basketball shoes, but they're boring as hell now. Like I believe, Cousteau brought up a point of you not needing a signature shoe every single year.
Yeah.
I so agree with that. It hurts. What you could do, and what I think there needs to be more of, why don't you have like Charlamagne the God do a collab on like a KD? I'd buy Charlamagne the God KD. I know he's a Knicks. He'd probably fuck with more of the Knicks than Brooklyn. But just like if you get somebody regional who's like super popular and like relevant, doesn't always have to be Travis Scott. It doesn't always have to be the same collaborators over and over again. Why can't someone get a cameo, as they used to say in beer pong? Let me get one shot. One quick shot. Let people, they do with the one shot with jerseys, right? Bleacher Report and the NBA outcasted Atlanta Hawks jerseys, right?
Oh, yeah.
Does not have a substantial relationship with either Nike, Bleacher Report, or the Atlanta Hawks formerly. But you put it together one time and it worked, and it's super successful. Dipset for New York, that was super cool. Amine in Portland, super cool. So, like, why can't there be more one-offs or, cameos on these signature shoes? That would spice it the hell up and be super cool. And those type of people are at the game too. Like if you had a adidas and Mero KD, that'd be so sick. And they're at the games all the time. Like they're on the court. That'd be so cool.
I think we're lobbying for a sneaker history cameo for a pack of shoes.
That'd be okay.
Okay with that. Just put the contract in the mail, please. Thank you.
I mean, I think that's a dope idea, but I think that would require a lot of confidence from Nike, and Nike's not a confident company, right? Like if Nike was a confident company, you wouldn't have 15 Travis Scott collabs or 20 Travis Scott collabs. You wouldn't release 3-4 colorways of one shoe. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like their confidence, they're lacking confidence because of their success, right? Like once you make it to a certain level, you're afraid to step off and take challenges and take on risk because you have more and more people have put money behind you to say, keep making more money. And at the end of the day, if you worry about that, then why would you ever go away from Virgil Abloh making every Jordan? I mean, really, like Virgil Abloh should make Jordans 1 through 23, if not more, for the next however long, and they will sell those shoes more than they would sell the regular retros of that shoe. And that sucks because you just don't get into the creative aspect of where people could go. Like those ideas, right? Like those are all people that are going to come to the table and have like a different thought process, right? Like just think of, the way, I mean, one of the next releases that we'll talk about is from Bodega, right? A collaboration with Bodega. But then you think of like Jesus and Mero, the Bodega boys, all the creativity that's going to come from them, even though like from a surface level, like, yeah, there's this connection to like the idea of a bodega, which if have been living under a rock, that's basically like the corner store in, major cities on the East Coast for the most part. The West Coast doesn't really call them bodegas, but now they do because it's become a thing, right? Sure. But it's kind of crazy to think that, the level of risk, if you look at like the following of a, Jesus and Mero versus Travis Scott, Virgil Abloh, or to your point about, like even Outkast or Amine or any of these people that have done these kind of other projects that have had successful projects elsewhere, the guaranteed sell-through of Travis Scott and Virgil Abloh is so high compared to a creator that's small. Look at Billie Eilish. Billie Eilish has sold, like those shoes have not sold nearly as well as maybe, people thought. And they're still available in a lot of different places. But she has a much bigger following probably than, I don't know, like than most celebrities, right? So it seems like they would sell, but I don't know.
She's a megastar. But let me ask this, though. I'm passing to Mike. Is putting a whistle on the back of a shoe taking a risk? Or is that like, what is that? Not like throw slight, but like.
I mean, that's kind of standard for running, right? Like trail running shoes. I think that's already been done. I don't remember exactly if it has, but like the idea of carrying a whistle with you when you run or hike or any of that stuff, that's common in that world. So like the idea of connecting it to a shoe, it's almost, to me, that's no different than, flip flops with a bottle opener on the bottom. Like, I think it's great. Like you need a bottle opener when you're at the beach. Why not just put it in the fucking bottom of your shoe? Yeah. You need a whistle when you're out in the middle of nowhere in the woods on a trail. Why not just put it in the bottom of your shoe? Like, I'm not trying to take away from the creativity of Salehi and what he did with that, because he brings a completely different audience and energy to that project. So I understand why New Balance would want to do that. But like, I don't think that it's groundbreaking. I think that it's also like it makes sense because he's like one of the hottest commodities in like streetwear right now, or in fashion right now.
I think with that for it to work, if we were to do that, it's going to go back to making it regionalized and bringing that scarcity, because that will do it. So say, all right, every year for the next couple of years, we're going to do, all right, cool, we're going to do the South this year. We get Outcast, we get so on and so forth to design a shoe for that really speaks to a couple teams in the South, or for them specifically, the Hawks. They design a shoe only is regionalized to Atlanta and the Georgia area, the metro area. That's how you get those kinds of things that get the energy around it, because no matter what, people like scarcity. Like you can sell them a bag of dog crap and put Nike on it, and if it's only available in one place, they're going to go buy it. And that kind of eliminates that risk that you're talking about, Nick, because Nike knows if they make something, quote unquote hype, they can sell anything. And if you put small numbers behind it, it will work. And I think that, we probably will never see it, or maybe it'd be a long time from now, but that's like if they ever decided, Wale, although no one really wears the foam posit so much anymore, if they would say, hey, Wale, we need you to do a foam posit just for DMV area. Let's try to make it somewhat reminiscent of either the Bullets or the Wizards. We're going to make 10,000 pairs. People are freak out just because of scarcity. So if you did it that way, I think it would work. But I think they're probably the only way it would work initially.
Wait, hold up. I'm using my Zach Morris powers here to call a timeout and tell you about a couple of our partners. These are some of the folks that help us keep the podcast going, and they have some exclusive discounts just for our listeners. Now, if you're already subscribed to our YouTube channel, you know how I love to display my kicks when I'm not rocking them. Sneaker Throne makes sneaker display cases featuring customizable LED lights and drop side cases to showcase the entire side of your shoe, not just the heel or the toe. To me, it's a perfect way to display your collection. You can save 10% on your Sneaker Throne order by using the code HISTORY at sneakerthrone.com. That's history at sneakerthrone.com. Now, if you're a Patreon supporter and a member of our Discord community, you already know about Kicks with V Hot Sauce and his small batch, locally sourced hot sauce. V has been one of the biggest supporters of Sneaker History and the podcast since the early days, and his hot sauce has been a huge hit within the community. To celebrate the launch of his new coffee habanero flavor hot sauce, and my personal favorite, his new habanero honey, he's given an exclusive discount to our podcast listeners. You can save 10% by using the code SneakerHistory10 at kickswithvhots.com. That's SneakerHistory10 at kickswithvhots.com. If you're interested in sponsoring the podcast or becoming a partner with our community, get in touch with us. You can reach us by email at podcast@sneakerhistory.com. Or better yet, tell some of your favorite brands they should be sponsoring the podcast. All right, let's get back into today's episode.
I mean, and I think that, it's not just Nike, right? I'm using Nike because we're talking about their shoes, right? But like Adidas does this, Sean Wotherspoon is like the perfect example of that with Adidas. Like he's so popular across all different things. He's got such a massive following on his own accounts. He's got a massive following at his business. And then he's got partnerships with Guess Jeans and, whatever else. And to me, that like there, you can only run through that so many times before you get to a point of like, hey, we gotta get more creative with it. But like sneakers as a whole has taken the approach of like, oh, this is the hot person. Let's work with them no matter what. Right.
Yeah.
If I'm at Nike or Adidas, and maybe I'm old school and competitive, but if I'm at New Balance right now, I'm not working with Salehi while he's working with Crocs and working with other brands. I'm not working with Sean if he's going to be working with Nike, vice versa. Like it's not anything against those people. Like, I just think that there needs to be some sort of commitment to the brand and to the initiative for a length of time. Like, even if it's a year or 2 years or something, like, let that fall from people's minds before you get to the point of filling it up with another shoe because Adidas doesn't get anything out of that. Like New Balance doesn't really get any long-term value out of that. If I'm only paying attention because it's Salehi, like the point of a collaboration to me is to bring a new audience to a brand or to a creator. And if it's not a two-way street, then I don't think it makes sense. And if somebody's doing collabs with, hundreds of different people, like even in my opinion, I even think it's weird that Virgil does, Louis Vuitton footwear and then goes and does Nike footwear. Like, to me, it just doesn't, like, I think there should be some sort of separation there, but I'm just a consumer.
That makes sense. So especially when it comes to like the competitive thing, it's like, I think it's funny enough because, bringing, kind of full circle, Cousteau, his latest episode of Hard Pass was talking about how that it just, people shouldn't even have brand deals anymore. They should come in, make the shoe, and just keep going, because we have people moving around so much and just kind of doing whatever they want. I mean, Kanye is the example because he still wears Nike product. Heck, he was just here in Houston, apparently, at a museum here wearing the Comme des Garçons foam posits. Like, clearly, the people have so much power now in who making these collaborations that they know that they're the reasons that people talk about these brands, so they can do whatever they want. And I think that takes the competitive edge, just like you were talking about, Nick, earlier, from the brands, because they're relying so much on Kanye, Salehi, Virgil, fill in the blank of the hottest person, Travis Scott, that they have free reign to kind of do what they want. So, heck, I agree with what Jock said. It's just like, take the contracts away, do the project, and move on, because there's no way to make these people, you can't lock them down to these contracts. I mean, unless you do something like with, oh my God, Jerry Lorenzo, make him, director of basketball at Adidas. He's locked in now. But when you're just doing these collaborations, you really have no hold on these people to be committed and dedicated to a brand. Because creative people, their minds going to keep going. So like he's done Crocs, Anta, and New Balance all within a year. And it's nothing wrong with that from his standpoint, because he's a creative person. He just wants to keep creating, and whoever gives him the chance, he's going to do it. But again, it's not something that's going to be conducive to the brand in the long run if they're putting all the same things out within the 365 days of each other.
I think too, it's really, even with like thinking of these creators that are doing so many projects in a year, there's something to be said about like the strategy behind the way Jerry Lorenzo does stuff with Fear of God, right? Like, he's very, it's not rushed. There's time between things. Like, I think you have to give people time to like enjoy the product and learn to love it as much as you do, ahead of time building up hype for it. And I think that's kind of an interesting, like, just phenomenon that's going on right now, where we have all these things that are going on, and it's like the release of a shoe is the end of the story. And like, for instance, the end of the story for in my opinion, for Salehi's New Balance that you got should be you and a bunch of other people that are out there, hiking around, kind of showcasing the shoes and using the whistle and like continuing that story in your own way. Mm-hmm. But like, how do you get to a point where you empower the consumers to do that when the brands are so, they're just in a position where they have to make more money and have to keep it moving. And I also think that there's a two-way street with partnerships like that, right? There's a level of respect, and, I would, use Kanye as kind of the whipping boy in the situation, right? Kanye is always going to try to do whatever he can to get people to talk about him.
Yep.
And if that means him wearing, CDG foam posits, then so be it. Right. Mm-hmm. if people aren't buzzing about Yeezys, he says something about he should be able to wear Jordans. Like we see him repeat the same strategy over and over again. Like there's a lot of
shock and awe
stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff of him just trying to get attention. And, for some people that works. But I think that, that also is a reflection of Adidas choosing to let Wex go. Because if Wex didn't leave Adidas, I don't think you would see Kanye wearing any of that stuff, because there's like a level of respect there that's built over, whatever it was, the 5, 6 years, 7 years of them working together, where like they respect each other and they don't want to step on each other's toes. And I think that, unfortunately, or, maybe Wex was just ready to leave. I don't know if you haven't listened to the conversation, that I published probably 2 months ago now, I'll put a link in the description, but like Wex is just he gets it. And, I think the footwear industry misses somebody like that, because you can't really understand the level of, the level of ego that comes with creatives. Obviously we know Kanye because he's all over the place in public with his stuff, but like the rest of the creators that you see create things, it takes a lot to work with those people, because unfortunately or fortunately, however you want to look at it, they have all these opportunities just surrounding them at all times now, right? It doesn't matter if you have done anything or not. If you have a big following and you have sold product for somebody else, another brand will want you to work with them. So if it means like I wear, Reebok questions and Reebok gives me a deal and cool, this is authentic. But as soon as that deal happens, then it justifies me getting a deal with, Ruffles, Ridges, potato chips, even though I don't fuck with Ruffles. Like I'm a tortilla chip guy, like fuck Ruffles, like that's how I feel. But like at the end of the day, I could say that and I could still go get a deal with a potato chip brand. That's how like the world works now. I think we even saw that, right? Sean Wotherspoon said on one of them about Nike, on, I think whose podcast was it? Yeah, it was Drew, right? With Don Drew, sit down with Don Drew, was like, basically like Nike could shit on me or whatever. And I'd still like wear their shoes or something. And unfortunately, that's how a lot of people feel, right? Like they are the pinnacle. They're so far above everybody else that it doesn't matter. And the people that like moved ahead with that with Adidas, it's kind of like, I don't know. That's kind of weird. Hopefully the shoes sell out and he does well with it. But like anybody that's paying attention, that's a really odd thing, because if I was like, fuck everything that Robbie stands for, and then 2 weeks later, I was like, me and Robbie got a collab. It'd be like, people would be like,
you don't stand for nothing.
It's tripping. Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know. I'm just kind of rambling at this point.
Yeah, that's how it goes, though. People travel where the money is. I can't be mad at them for the opportunities, but I feel that just makes the things they come out with seem a little bit less authentic just because of that. But that's, neither here or there. I think we fell down another rabbit hole. So, we're still talking about collaboration, so we might as well delve into this Bodega 574, which the 574 seem to, it's a very steady shoe that has always been around, but it seems like it's finding new life lately with the emergence of the 5740. Of course, this Salehi, the yurt, but it seems like it's getting new life with a little bit more of a more streetwear focused audience again.
I don't like New Balances still. Straight up. It's like every time I'm like, that's a good looking shoe. The materials could be nice. The color is pretty. I want to wear a 574. Period. The full cap. What about you, Nick?
Tomorrow, 574 will appear at Robbie's door just because they're like.
And if it does, I will give it a genuine. I gave the 550 a genuine shot. Like I put it on my foot. I did 2 laps around the living room, and I was like, "Yeah, not for me." Reboxed them, gave them to from me. Like, I tried, it's not for me.
Yeah, the 574 is like one of my favorites because it was just a cheap shoe that I could afford to get back in the day. So like, it's still nostalgic to me.
It's sporting good.
Yeah, it's absolutely it's a Ross shoe, a Marshall shoe that's $24.99, you know, sometimes even cheaper. But I think, you know, it's one of those things that the cycle of these releases is always the same, right? We see it with the Jordan 2s, like all these people that are, I've been wearing the Jordan 2s forever, right? That's why I got to buy like, who cares? Like 5 years ago, the Jordan 2 came out. If you were paying attention to sneakers back then, or whenever it was, like, I don't know when the exact time, 2013. So 7-8 years ago, the Jordan 2 was a big deal and it was all over the place, but it didn't sell out. It wasn't like hype the way it is now. But okay, you wore Jordan 2s. Like, I've also worn Jordan 2s. Like, I just don't think like you have to prove to anyone that you were into it before it became a thing again, right? Like, if you want to get into that, like, I've been wearing Dickies and Ben Davis for 30 something years. So fuck all of y'all. Like,
well, what's really funny about that is, like, I literally laugh on the inside, people who like feel the need to justify what they're rocking. Like, people care what they're rocking and are going to call you out about it. It's so funny. It's like, they're sitting there just like ready to defend themselves. It's like, all right, I'm ready. Ready.
But and on top of that, it's like, I'm fully aware that, like, even though I've been wearing Ben Davis and Dickies for 30 some years, I got it from the guys I looked up to back then. They were wearing it for 30 years. Like,
I've been wearing Pampers for 32. And like, you can't tell me nothing.
Yeah, it's all you.
Yeah, it's really weird. I mean, the 574 is like, I like it because it's inexpensive, and they make made in the USA ones that are still around $60 on sale. And it's just a good, you know, comfortable, like, beater shoe to me that you don't have to worry about.
Yeah.
But you know, like, once it gets into the, like, you know, oh, who had this and who had that and who was around for the last time, it's like, you know, there's always somebody that was there before you, and your experiences are unique. Our experiences are unique. If I had an experience with a 574 that was great, that doesn't mean that I'm justified to, like, you know, be sent a pair of 574s or get free shit or talk shit to somebody who doesn't have a pair. Like, it doesn't matter. And that's the part about, like, the 574 right now, and seeing all this, like, kind of buzz around it. I'm just like, well, you know, what's fucking wankers, man.
It's thinking about how far ahead Nike's been for so long. Like, when Sports Authority was a place, they would have, like, the Reebok workouts, and, like, the Reeboks, the New Balances, like the 574s, you know, the Puma Romas, you know, the skate shoes all in one area, and like Nike in a display box over to, like, the left by itself, not even near. They'd be like, I remember specifically having the option to buy a 574 or a mesh Reebok, and I bought the mesh Reebok. I think, or it was bought for me. I was so little. I remember being like, that New Balance isn't it. But how all those other brands have kind of all been like a melting pot for so long.
Yeah.
And then, like, Nike's over here just crushing it. Like, it's
because, you know, they were just putting it, they were like, nah, nobody's going to steal anything but Nike or Jordan. So we'll just put everything else in. So
like Thanos and then all the Avengers. It's just like, well, Thanos is still stronger than all of you until Captain Marvel comes. And it's like, they don't have a Captain Marvel coming. Maybe Yeezy is Captain Marvel, right? Adidas and Yeezy are Captain Marvel. I think Captain Yee.
Captain Yee.
Yeah. It is interesting though, because, like, New Balance is going pretty hard with some of the retros, and they're trying to do all the collaborations, right? Like, you know, you've got like Concepts 992, an ALD 993, and to me, you know, and the Bodega 574, right? To me, like, just doing collaborations on all those shoes, I don't know if it, like, it doesn't appeal to me. Maybe it's because I have, you know, a couple of pairs of each of those and most New Balances, but, like, you know, it's kind of like, I think Russ said it at some point on Twitter in the last couple of weeks, where it was like, you know, some blog said, you know, it's your opportunity to buy a fresh new pair of gray New Balances, because everybody needs more gray New Balances in their life. And Russ was like, no, you literally need one pair of gray New Balance and you're done. And that's how I feel about a lot of shoes right now. Because, like, let's be honest, like, if you bought a 993 and a 992, most people on the planet could not tell you the difference between those shoes. Even people that own those shoes probably can't tell you the difference between those shoes. And to me, like, it feels like they're just trying to duplicate what they saw with Nike and these collaborations, right? And some of it works, the 550 to Robbie's point, even though Robbie didn't like it, like a lot of people like that shoe all of a sudden in the last few years compared to like, New Balance retro basketball stuff has come out for a long time and it is chunky and uncomfortable, but like, I think it looks dope, but it's still chunky and uncomfortable. Like, most people won't mess with that. They'd rather buy a Jordan 1 because if you're going to wear a chunky and uncomfortable shoe, the Jordan 1 at least it has some clout.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to our next shoe. So, Jordan 1 OG high chenille. I think if we're going through the same cycle of how shoes are beginning to be a little bit more available because they're just kind of oversaturating things, I think this is going to be the one that sits because I don't need a Jordan 1 with the chenille / carpet looking swoosh. If this does sell, it's going to sell the power of two things. One, it looks like that part of that 85 pack that dropped All-Star Weekend last year. And also it looks like a St. John dunk mixed with a little bit of Las Vegas dunk because it has a gray top. So a couple things can make it sell, but that swoosh kills it for me. But I know, it's a Jordan 1. No matter what I say, it's going to sell out. So what do you guys think on this one?
I it's cool, but like, I like the other ones more. I like the Bordeaux ones way more. And these are women's. It's a February release. Yeah. I'm not going to take any of these pre-rendered photos. I'll worry about it in like January. Ask me in January.
Yeah. I think the chenille swoosh is kind of, all right. You did that in 2009 on some mids. Mm-hmm. You did that on some Aleli Mays. Do you really need this colorway? Like, does it need a chenille swoosh? Like, but I don't know. I think the colorway in this mock-up is beautiful, but I just
none of us need it, but also it's a ladies' shoe. And this is where I think it is cool is that for so long, this wasn't a look or a literal size option for little half the world or whatever the percentage of men and women there are on Earth.
Women a chenille swoosh. Why not just make it a flat leather swoosh and make it just like, because you have to do that one little thing to really
want this. That's your man brain talking. You want the exact same thing you've had since you were 8 years old.
I always hear a lot of women
probably more inclined to mix it up. Like they don't have the generational, I need to have the perfect all leather only OG high, yada yada. And not just you, but it's in general, guys think that way. Like personally, I want breads as they come out originally, no patent. I want breads. But to a girl, like, oh yeah, that looks cool. Texture, talking point, feeling point. There's no like deep relation to how it should be. It just looks awesome. So it's like, yeah, man, you thrive, girl. Like, I think that's totally okay. These are the places to do it because there's going to be shoes where they have traditional everything and we'll complain about something else. But I think it's important to spice it up for different people because not everybody's our age group or sex. So it's cool. I think it's ugly to me, but like it doesn't even come in my size. Why do I care? Like what is my relation to it? I couldn't buy it if I wanted to. Like nobody cares what Robbie thinks. It's not for you, Robbie. I'm like, all right, bet.
Yeah, I don't know. I could see both sides of that argument because it's one of those things where sometimes you just need to make the regular stuff for everybody, and then sometimes you need to differentiate. And who knows, like what's right and wrong. And like Robbie said, it's a mock-up, so it's probably going to look different anyway. It's like, shatter backboard 4s and all that shit when it came out, and then next you see it and you're like, what the fuck is this? Like,
absolutely wrong with this shoe. Like,
maybe because of time, we this is a thought. We're getting to 45 minutes. To our listeners, to your significant other who isn't deeply into sneakers and you're getting them into sneakers, I've gone through this many times. You give your significant other two options: one an OG colorway and one like a new, a not OG colorway of something. In my experience, almost every single freaking time they think the new one looks cooler. significant? You tell me, because they don't have the deep relation, like they don't have the subconscious or front of conscious to be like, that's not what I want. That's not what Michael Jordan wore. That's not what Kobe wore. That's not what yada yada. It literally comes down to, does it look cool to me? So like, to somebody who's newer into sneakers or is humoring you and is going to wear a pair of Jordan 1s, like, I want to know from our listeners, but in my personal experience, I show my significant other a white and black GR Air Max 1 or a varsity red, and she's like, "Ooh, that white and black one looks sweet."
Yeah.
Well, you've learned nothing, but also you have to wear it, not me, right? Like,
well, see, with my wife, we haven't gone to like the OG versus like new sneaker discussion. She wants to learn more about like the shoe thing because I'm into it, so she wants to know. Okay, just tell me what you know, and it will still come down to what she likes more because she had they were the last pair of the black toe lows that came out. They weren't the traditional cut or whatever, but she wasn't a fan of that. But on the flip side, she loved, like, her favorite shoe that she wears all the time is the crossover Questions. Like,
yeah,
not a traditional pair, it's the mismatched pair. She loves that pair, but she got her first pair of Air Force Ones, and it was nothing but, she's like, no. She's like, I don't want these frilly looking ones. I want the ones that like me and my son have. She's like, no, I want those, just the all whites, and she keeps them clean. They're not beat. So I'm really proud about that, by the way. So my wife keeps her Air Force Ones nice and crispy. They're not just looks like someone ran them over with a truck.
Are they the 07 Air Force One or it is a white Air Force One?
The 07's like the traditional white on white, the one they have. Well, it used to back in the day have just boxes of them in the back.
Because the Air Force One's just like the Air Jordan 1, right? There's so many different little variants. This is the Air Force One. There's so many for women. And I think that's so cool. Like, none of them are for me, but also they're literally not for me. So, like, I think a lot of us need to let go of that in criticism of some shoes. But Nick or listeners, I'm very curious to see if, like, you show Cam too. But Cam knows shoes a little better than the average bear.
I think she just has, to your point, everybody has their own taste. I think that, with like, if you looked at Jordan 1s, I don't think that like the chenille swoosh affects the decision at all with her. I mean, she likes some of the original stuff. She likes some of the new stuff. Like, I think one of her favorite pairs of Jordan 1s is the kind of chameleon looking all-star ones that came out a few years back, which, it's like, that's kind of like this, right? It's like, it's Nike trying to balance the new and old in one colorway, right? Because that has the traditional color blocking, has that classic look, but then it's like a kind of, I don't remember if it's got a like translucent outsole or something.
Mm-hmm.
And like, this is the same thing. And I think, like, that's what I mean. I think the colorway on this is beautiful. I think it's one of those things where, like, I just, I didn't even, like, the post didn't even say it was a women's shoe, so I didn't even realize that until you said it. But
yeah, same here.
Like, I've already said, I already have enough Jordan 1s. I don't need any more. So, like,
that All-Star is a great point, because, like, I have that also, and I literally remember seeing it and buying it, being like, ooh, it looks familiar, but I don't have one that looks like this. The translucent outsole, it has metal lace tips. Its color changes a little bit. It's different. So I was like, personally, different's cool. I like.
Yeah, I think it's tough because the other part about it is, at least now, right? Like, if you made, let's say you made a bred Jordan 1 in women's sizing only, resellers would just buy it up and resell it to people on StockX and all the other platforms and whatnot. So, like, you can't really do that anyway, because it would just end up hurting the entire, ecosphere of all this stuff, right? I think that's the weirdest part about it, is, like, I wonder if they think about that when they're putting colorways together, because part of it is, like, you want it to sell out, but, like, if you're trying to create for various groups of people and you create something that appeals to the other side, and they can, like, let's say they can fit that shoe in their guy, even though it's a women's release, it kind of fucks everybody because they can't actually get it because a bunch of dudes want the shoe, right? Like it's just like, I don't know, man. I feel like with all these things where we have so many people into very specific models and of shoes, it just makes it even that much more complicated. And, you know, I think there's plenty of times where they've had successful attempts to do, you know, a women's variation. Like this one looks pretty good to me, but like, then I think of like some of the weird stuff that they were doing where they're like, you know, putting the laces on the side and the backwards stuff and the ankle zip offs and like that stuff I think is really cool. But when you're not providing women an opportunity to buy kind of traditional sneakers, I think if that's the only thing you're doing, which kind of was at the time, I think that's even, you know, equally as messed up. So, I mean, hopefully more is better in this case where people have access to it of all types, you know, but I don't know. I think we could debate this forever. And every time something like this comes out, it just brings it back up again. It's like, you ever doing this for, you know, the right people? Like, cause I look at some of the shoes too. And I think, well, that could be a women's shoe, you know, like even like the 574, right? The Bodega 574 to me looks like, you know, I know that like New Balance looks at, you know, their women's line and slims down a lot of the shoes to fit differently, but like the color palette on that shoe and the shape of a 574 looks like like it could be a women's shoe too. So I don't know. I think the best thing to do with sneakers would just be release everything as one unisex size all across the board. Like I think we should eliminate all the different like European sizes, American sizes, centimeters, like just make it all the fucking same. So we all know what we're getting and there's no confusion. And if it fits you, you buy the one that fits you and that's all.
No, you simplified it too much. We wish that could happen. I wish that would just be a thing. Oh, by the way, since you know we're finishing up right now, but I have to ask you guys. Well, Nick, they've murdered our shoe.
Uh-oh.
I don't know if you guys can see this. Apparently, this is a mock-up, of course, but apparently there's a military 4.
Show it again.
Okay, I don't know. This is on my phone. You may not be able to see it. This is a mock-up, but I just saw this like trending on like Twitter and crap. Military blue, off-white 4. I'm like, guys, I just want the original. I don't need that. I mean, I guess get your money, but come on, man.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a whole can of worms we're not going to open tonight.
You're opening it. You're my emotions. I just want this one shoe again. Mine is like so beat. I just want a new pair.
Yeah. I mean, I think like that's a topic we should jump into on a future episode. Just like talking about the Adidas approach to just making everything available all the time, right? Like you can get superstars, you can get Stan Smiths almost all the time. Jordan Brand should probably start doing that, but I don't know if we'll ever see it. But anyway, that's pretty much it. Thanks for rocking with us. We have these feeding into the Discord if you want to see releases as part of the features of the Discord every day, every hour, every half hour, every 15 minutes or so. There's stuff that's kicking in there to make sure that you stay up on the latest releases if you want to do that. So I would suggest joining the Discord. It's over in the links in the description or any of our social platforms. But more importantly, make sure you follow Mike and Robbie. Robbie, let's let them know how they can find you.
You can find me at RAHBEE 702.
Yep. You guys can find me at Mike Guillory on YouTube or Instagram and Twitter at MadWatcher789. And Nick, of course, you guys tell them where they can find you.
You can find me at Nick Engvall on all the platforms, mostly in the Discord, and at Sneaker History on all the platforms. And we will catch you on the next episode. Thanks for rocking with us. We appreciate you. Peace.
See ya.
Hey everyone, this is Nick again. Before you take off, do us a solid and head over to Apple Podcasts to leave us a review. Give us a rating on Spotify and Amazon Music, and make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel because we have even more video content coming soon. Speaking of new content, we have an amazing community of sneaker enthusiasts that hang out in our Sneaker History Discord on a daily basis. While sneakers is a connection point that brought us all together, we've all discovered countless shared passions that we have in common with each other. We recently launched a couple of new podcasts directly from our community. One of them is a Formula One podcast. If you're an F1 fan like me, the Exhaust Notes podcast is your weekly fix of Formula One fun. It's hosted by myself, Rohit Malhotra, and Todd Yates. New episodes drop every Tuesday. I've been wearing fitted hats for years and collecting my favorite teams since I was a little leaguer. It has been awesome to see so many new fans getting into fitteds in recent years. Crown and Stitch is our new talk show about fitted hats with Dexter, Keith, and myself, where we talk about fitted hats, snapbacks, throw in some obscure hats because we all kind of like some funky stuff once in a while, don't we? Copping, collecting, and so much more. New episodes drop every Wednesday. Hit the links in the show notes for this episode to give our new shows a listen, and be on the lookout for more new podcasts dropping soon. Last but not least, tell someone you like their kicks today. You never know how far a simple compliment can take you, and we all know how good it feels to have someone show their appreciation. Thank you all for the support, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.